Oh, right side it went live. So,
Hello there.
okay, good. Alrighty, so I have yet to get any viewers, but hopefully they will come in soon. But to anybody that watches this later or comes in right now, we are doing a 100 Days of Trump stream. Or 100 Days. Glad nobody's in here because I done fucked that up. All right, we are doing the first year of Trump stream. That's what I meant to say. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to bring up a few things that happened the first year of Trump, and we're going to have a little bit of a chat about them. I have Sir Conservatarian here with me, and
Hello.
my wife may join me later after she wakes up a little more, and she's going to give a more liberal perspective on some of the things that have happened. I tried to get another liberal person in here, but I was unsuccessful. I'm going to try again within the next month. But if this becomes a success and if everybody watching likes it, I want to make this a monthly thing. Just when I go on home time, I would love to just get on a stream with a Conservatarian and maybe two liberals, and then we have a discussion about the important things that happened with Donald Trump over the course of that month, and we discuss how it's going to affect the country, putting aside our personal opinions of him as a person. The reason I'm doing this is because the media is nothing but a shit pool of bias against him because they don't like him as a person, or because he's not fitting the liberal narrative of most media websites. Or you also have Fox News, which I don't think they're quite as bad as some people make them out to be, but they sometimes praise him when they really shouldn't. And I want this to be an outlet for anybody that wants to hear a professional opinion. I say saying that from the perspective of a truck driver, which is kind of funny. But wants to hear a different opinion and hear a little bit of a discussion on what they think happened. Like I said, I have my current co-host right now, Sir Conservatarian. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Sir Conservatarian. It is a pleasure being with you here. Hey, dude, 77. I look forward to this discussion.
That is good. I'll be right back.
All right. Sweet dreams are made of thee. Who am I to disagree? Travel the world and seven seas. Everybody.
Okay, sorry about that. I was talking with my wife who just woke up. She may or may not join the conversation, but definitely next month we will bring her on and we will have a proper discussion about different things. So, Conservatarian, how much did... Hang on, let me deal with...
How am I to disagree? I travel the world in the seven seas. Everybody's looking for something.
People are going to come in and hear the intro to this stream and they're going to be like, we're listening to these mooks try to make sense out of the presidency.
And they're gonna, if anyone has good enough ears, they'll understand what I'm saying, or at least what I'm saying under my breath when you're gone.
I heard it, but
okay.
Honestly, I do think that's fine. I don't want this to be 100% serious discussion. I want it to be serious, but I'm not going to be opposed to having a few jokes and stuff thrown in there because it's good to lighten the mood when people are listening to serious stuff like this.
Yeah, because to me, it would get boring if we were just talking about the same thing over and over again, and it was just completely dry in regards to humor. Because that's why you have your comedic relief characters. That's why they exist. Because it would get boring to see a movie or a film, for that matter, where it's completely serious and there's no humor. It's like, okay, we fucking get it. Anyways,
yeah, totally agreed.
All right, so what's the first thing you'd like to discuss?
Um. Okay. Let me double check my list.
And he's checking
Like, I'm
it.
pretty sure I remember them, but I want to double check because I have a bad habit of changing them at the last minute if I forget what one of them was. But
And he's gonna tell you if you're
one of them I'm gonna leave out. Um, okay. First, let me ask a question. I wanted to talk about immigration and the wall, healthcare, tax reform, and regulation rollbacks on the economy. How many of those things do you have information on? Like, you don't have to have links provided immediately or anything, but
I don't have any. I don't have any links. I've just been reading certain articles, and I recently watched Blair White's video as to whether what she thinks of him after a year. And there are some things that I agree. There are some things I agree with what she said. It's like, yeah, I'm totally on board with what he did, and there are other things that I'm like, like for example, the Syrian, the what? Now?
Is that what she was saying? Because I didn't have it. I was gonna watch that before now, but I didn't have a chance to do so.
Well, I'm saying is that from a lot of her points, I agree with on regards to Trump. And there's one thing I'm a little bit on the fence on when it comes to Trump. It's the missile, the Moab bomb that he left on Syria. That is like, was it right or was it wrong? You could argue that yes, what he did was right because now he's sending a message to anyone out there that he's not going to hesitate to bring in action. On the other hand, you could say that, dude, what the hell? You said that you were not going to get us back in the Middle East. But outside of that, I'm actually happy with what he's doing when it comes to tax reforms, when it comes to deregulation, and when it comes to him building the wall, I'm actually perfectly okay with that. Although he wants to make the DACA Act, from last time I heard, the Bill of Love. It's like, okay, you're going on a pro-immigration, like you're trying to go like very strict. Like it would be impossible to say that Trump was not pushing immigration as part of his presidency during his campaign. It would be impossible to say that.
Yeah, good point. Like, I did kind of say, my thought on that Moab though was like, I thought it was a good idea to drop it because people were acting like he saw, ooh, big gun. Let me drop big gun on Muslim people. Like, that's what a lot of people were trying to say, when in reality, that bomb was actually built during the Trump administration. I'm going to screw this up. Now that bomb was actually built during Bush's administration. That bomb was 13 years old.
Yep.
Trump did see big bomb and decide, let's just drop it on something because I have the button to push it. It was about to expire, and he thought, why waste it? I wanted to defeat ISIS. Let's drop it and make the target count. And from what I understood, he made the target count because it did take out like 90 ISIS soldiers.
True. To me, again, it just feels. Again, one hand, you can say this. Like what you said, he made the bomb. He made it count, and I'm gonna be playing devil's advocate for a moment here. That he shouldn't have done it because one, in his campaign, he said that I want to keep us out of Syria. I want us to keep us out, and if we're gonna do get involved, we're gonna get the Russians involved. We're gonna be working with them, and because Syria is an ally with Russia, that pissed them off. So at that point, that gives people who are opposed to him saying, "What the hell? I thought you said you weren't gonna get us involved." People would argue in the past that, Hillary would have gotten us involved. Hillary would have done this. Hillary would have done that. And now, because of Trump doing that, it really damages his credibility. You know?
Yeah, I can agree with that too. Like,
and that's why I say I'm playing devil's advocate. Because I'm just it could go two ways. It could go two ways is how I see it. Though it's hard for me to justify someone doing something like that when they promised that we wouldn't do it or get back involved in there, you know?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I can agree with that. Like, you gotta which is like, honestly, that could segue into what I'll go ahead and make the first topic, which was healthcare. Because one of the things this is one thing that I will give everybody that has opposed him, that I agree he is doing completely wrong. Because he keeps trying to make a healthcare bill, and basically he just keeps rewriting Obamacare when he promised us that he was going to get rid of it.
Yeah, to me, I'll admit that is just inconsistency at best and idiocy at worst is how I see it. Because here's the thing, Obamacare is just purely disastrous. It is just anyone who tries to argue, "Oh, Obamacare was good. Obamacare, we need it back." It's like, no, motherfucker. The price of paying for health insurance has gone up ridiculously high, and interest rates are fucking high. So it's not worth it. And as for Trump trying to rewrite it and say, "Look, I want to keep some things of it still in place," it's like, dude, either you said that you're gonna get rid of it. Either you have it or you don't. Plain and simple. It doesn't take an Albert Einstein to understand that, you know? So that is
completely.
Oh,
like you're right. You're right on that. That's pretty much was my thoughts of it. Is like either repeal it or stop. Like the one thing I would say is, I do like the idea of. I think it may need tweaking, but I did like the idea of setting it up so that insurance companies can't deny people based on a pre-existing condition. Due to the fact that I know it was really hard for a lot of people with pre-existing conditions to get on healthcare, and I actually do know a few people in real life that if it hadn't been for that law, they would never get insurance, and they would actually probably be in a very bad health situation right now because of it.
Yep.
Which is where I see a bit of a point.
And yeah.
Say again? Okay. Do you mind speaking about that?
What do you mean?
What you just said.
Just for truth. Not for Obamacare at the beginning, I wouldn't have had insurance, and I would have been a lot worse off.
Hey, well, that's news to me. I guess my wife was one of those people too.
I wouldn't have had insurance at all when I was pregnant with this. Or afterwards.
I guess that's true. Is she coming in clear from where she's sitting?
I can barely hear her.
Give me just 1 second.
All right. To disagree, travel the world in the seven seas. Okay, you know, I'm just gonna. He ain't my boy, but the brother his. I drive away with my band and move into a Chevy van. Yeah, I'm willing to give a person a shout out if they're able to find out the songs I'm singing under my breath here. Van to the master plan.
Hey, real quick, Frederick, I see you in the chat. Do you want to come in?
You want to? Oh, hold on. I'll ask him. You want to join?
If he does, send him the link.
He said, "Nah, it's just gonna be us."
Okay. I'll work out something to do with my wife if she wants to say something, because we're in the same vehicle and we don't have a second pair. But yeah, and so that was one of the things I could see staying. And the biggest reason I hated Obamacare is because I'm personally an example of how horribly it backfired. With the last trucking company I worked for before I worked for this one, it was based out of Arkansas, and they had a they had a personal insurance plan. Now, I got on with this insurance plan for medical insurance because I wanted to be a little more independent with my insurance because I was still under my dad's because of the regulation that requires I be on his until I'm 26. But I did want to be a little more independent, and I wanted it just in case something happened to my daughter whenever she's in our care, in case I had to take her to the hospital.
Yep.
But I actually ended up having to drop that and go uninsured for a brief time because I could not afford it. That shit was running me $800 a month. And when I found that out and found out how bad that was crippling my checks, I had to get rid of it. After getting rid of it, though, about 5 months after, I want to say, my dad lost his job and the insurance that came with it. Because of that, I went uninsured for the next 6 months that I worked for that company. And then when I started the current company I worked for, Navajo, I got insurance back. But because of that 5-month gap, the other big problem I had with Obamacare is that charged me $700 on my tax return. I got fined for not having insurance.
Yeah, to me that
I was literally in the case of I got fined for not being able to afford health insurance.
Yeah, to me it just that to me is just a big middle finger. Is how I see it. It's like you're making me pay for an insurance, a health insurance policy that I cannot afford, and because I can't afford it, I am now being punished because I can't afford it. What the hell, right? And this is why I say, we should privatize things. This is why we should privatize healthcare. Because it would be in the best interest of the company to make sure that the healthcare is of high condition, of high quality. And that is why I say that I say that when it comes to healthcare, you don't want to fuck with that. Two things you never gamble with: your health and your safety. You just don't gamble with that. And when someone, especially the government, is going to gamble with my healthcare or my safety, yeah, no, fuck that. Is all I got to say. And let me see if there are any comments. Any comments? But yes, I would agree in the on the pre-existing conditions thing. I can understand that. I can perfectly agree with that. But why is it that our tax dollars should go towards someone else's health? You know, that's what I think.
And put it this way, like this is one thing I do think should be looked at, because I've met people that are in this position, and I don't think it's totally fair to them. I just think it needs to be done in a different way. But it was like when Bernie Sanders would say that nobody should die because they can't afford health care. Now, I will agree with that, with a couple of limitations. There are some stupid things, like a recent challenge that involves soap, that I don't think we should have to pay for if somebody has to go to the hospital for it.
Yeah, to me, I can't. Yeah.
At the same time, I do think there should be a program in place. This is what I would agree with them doing in a nutshell. And you can give your opinion on what you would do if you were in the president's position. But I would take away Obamacare completely. I would just repeal the shit. And then I would tell people and tell Congress, if they want to work on a solution that actually helps people that are in the position of not being able to, like, get health care because they can't afford it, or because they're disabled and can't work, whatever the case may be, a proper case for not being able to afford health care, but not deserving to die because of it. If you're have a proper case of that, help us develop a program for those people to get the health care that they need in a speedy, efficient manner, which would also include our soldiers as a thank you for serving our country. I can't really specify many details about that. I would have to talk to a medical expert, which I wouldn't be opposed to bringing one on the stream if they have any opinions to say on this. But that's one thing I would say I would do if I was in the president's position.
I can understand that. And to me, here's how I think. Um, uh, if I were to get if I were to get rid of Obamacare, the only regulation I would set in place is this: you cannot deny someone based on pre-existing conditions. That's it. Everything else, I leave it up to the free market to decide. You see, the more regulations you put in place, then the more expensive things are going to get because there's going to be less innovation and there's going to be less competition.
Yeah, it really will.
And and when it comes to, and again, now this is a bit of this is a bit of a bind for me because I come from a military family and I'm pro-military. I know it sounds very awkward, it sounds very contradictory, saying like how that from an anarchist or for a person who could argue to be Americanist. Like you're pro-military, but you're not. So but that's a discussion for a later day. So when it comes to veterans, I think this. At best, pay for whatever injuries that they have suffered on their bodies in warfare or from a battlefield. Have that be completely paid for by the state, plain and simple. But when it comes to them being back here in the United States, being back here at home where there's no warfare, they have to pay for their own insurance. They have to pay for everything else themselves, but at a discounted price. That's how I see it.
To an extent, I can kind of agree with that because there are places that offer insurance at discounted rates or are specified specifically towards the military. And the one exception I would say where we take care of your health care for life is like somebody got hit by a grenade, now they're missing both their legs and they're not going to be able to work for the rest of their life. You served your country. We will help you for the rest of your life while you're disabled. And maybe a program that ensures that maybe we don't pay for everything. Like, I'm not going to say that. Okay, put it this way: a soldier dies in combat. We help take care of their family, not as in we do everything for them and they live a comfy life on the government's dime. But at the very least, we make sure that they are stable and that they're not going to go homeless or anything because their soldier died.
Yep. And again, when it comes to soldiers, when it comes to the military, it becomes a bit of a different conversation for me because it's very personal. To me, the way I would see it is this. If, let's say, a soldier comes back, they've lost their legs or their limbs, I'd say this. Pay for make sure they can get some robotic limbs of some sort, and if that fails, I would say, and I know it's gonna sound morbid, give the soldier the choice to euthanize themselves. Is what I think. I say that for two reasons. One, God only knows the mental imagery, the horrors that they have seen. And two, what would life would be meaningless if you couldn't do anything that you want, that you're physically bound to a chair and you can't do anything else. Imagine that, right? Like, I know if I was in that position, I'd say, fucking hell, just kill me. Just kill me, because life is boring. Life is meaningless at that point. Now, what do we do if they want to live? Well, then, I'd say for 1 year, support them. Give them a bare minimum check of, I'd say, at least $500. I don't know. I don't want to go high and say $5,000 because that's ridiculous. I mean,
you want to keep it at a happy medium where they'll live a comfortable life in exchange for their service, but they're not going to live an extravagant celebrity life on the taxpayer's dime.
Exactly. That's the sweet spot I'm trying to aim for. Because here's the thing: I hate taxes. I hate most of the things that the government does. Yet the three things I agree with what the government does is this: the courts, the military, and the border. Because you cannot tell me that several small militaries are going to be able to compete with one big military in times of war. And this is something I actually had to point out to ANCAPs, is that the military's competition, our military's competition, is other militaries out there in the world. That's what it's going to be. And at best, in Kapistan. Wow, we're getting off topic.
Well,
But at best, you're gonna see like a small amount of taxes, like 1 to 3% tax, because there's gonna still have to be a military, and there's still gonna have to be a border to protect people from being killed or having their rights violated. And when it comes to the healthcare, again, I think privatize it, and be done with it. With the exception, with the only exception, with the only regulation that I would put in place is that you cannot deny someone with pre-existing conditions. That's it.
agree, because like one thing I pointed out, like for example, my wife disagrees with the regulation that said that companies have to provide for birth control, which in my opinion was violating the religious rights of some companies and their owners. And my argument was that, now I argued a couple things. Number one, I think that if you want birth control simply so you can have sex, and this is completely generic, I don't care if you're married, I don't care if you're hooking up, whatever you're doing, if you're just want it for sex, you should have to pay for it yourself. But I would agree with requiring that they have to pay for it if somebody needs it for a medical reason. Because I did have an ex-girlfriend that actually was on birth control. We weren't sexually active, but she had a problem that was corrected by birth control. So I know that exists, and I think it's proper for that to be covered because it does get expensive. And if it's need for a medical reason, I would agree with that to be covered. I just don't agree that it should be provided so that you can whore around on the taxpayer's dime.
I agree. And here's the thing. When it comes to, like, I'm not going to debate as to whether, okay, well, for a moment, let's just say for a moment here, let's say contraceptives can be filed as a something for medical purposes. I would say this.
Medical expense.
Medical expense, yes. I would say this. Allow the free market to do that. Deregulate it. Allow the free market to provide a product for people, because it'll be at a low price and it will be of high quality. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there. That was kind of my argument for why I don't think it should be. That was my argument for why I don't think it should be a requirement for everybody to provide it no matter what. I said that basically, if you deregulate it that way, the free market will take effect. Mm-hmm. Now, if you regulate it to where it has to be provided because it's a medical expense, I would agree with that because some people need it. I know people that need it, like I just said.
And
but make it for the free for the part if you need it so that you can be sexually active, whatever your reasons for that is. I think it's proper to let the free market take control of that because now that the regulation's been in place for a little bit, I do think that if we took it out, I'm pretty sure there are some insurance companies that would go ahead and drop covering that altogether. But I'm pretty sure that there's some of them that would pick it up and say, hey, for $10 more per month, we will provide birth control coverage.
And exactly that's where the free market comes in. You see, it'll be within a company's best interest to be competitive with another company, because they'll say, hey, like exactly what you said. Well, if you pay $10 more, we'll pay for expenses for birth control. And at that point, it's the company's choice. It'll be the company's choice to say, do we want to put birth control or contraceptives as medical expenses for this person? Do we really want to do that, or should we not? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. But yes. Wow, we've gotten way off topic in regards to.
We were within the range of the topic at least, but
yeah.
Like I'll go ahead and let us conclude this, and then we can move on to the next one. But
I think we can both agree. Yeah, I think we can both agree that we're not happy with what Trump's done in regards to healthcare.
Yep, agreed. And then I think we can both agree that the best thing for him to do as far as healthcare going into the future would be to erase Obamacare completely and then start from scratch.
Yeah, that's how I would see it. That's what I would do. Next, what's the next subject?
Let's move to immigration and the wall. And the first question I would like to ask, if you know anything about this, is have you gotten any confirmation or seen any articles that kind of confirm how many illegal immigrants have been deported since he became the president?
I haven't, unfortunately. I've been too busy working out to be paying attention to what he's been doing. Sadly, whenever I hear of Trump these days, I just hear what the mainstream media says about him. It's like, oh my god, look what he did. Look at what he did. But from what I have heard of him, I don't remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's using the DACA deal. Like he's trying to say, look, if we allow these people to stay, then we have to have the wall built up. Like, am I wrong or am I correct?
Say that one more time. I missed part of
That
what
if the DACA recipients are gonna stay, then we have to build the wall. Is that true or not? I don't remember.
I don't know. I never noticed him saying anything about it. Like, the reason I wanted to bring it up, and I was intending to do some more research on this before I came onto the stream, I just didn't have time because my job is very demanding, which is also, for future reference, why I want to do this stream once a month. That way I have time to do research before I get to home time, and then I can do a proper setup. But anyway, basically what I've heard was, for number one, I've heard mixed reactions and opinions on what has happened with immigration. I've heard that he is deported. I've heard that he's done mass deportations of every illegal everywhere. They're just kicking down doors, grabbing every Mexican they think is illegal, and throwing them on a bus back to Mexico. And then I've heard that Obama deported more. I've heard such a mixture which is another reason that inspired me the idea to do a show like this, so that we can research it, get some proper information, and say, okay, we are not really biased. We're not necessarily biased. We're here to have a proper discussion on what we think Trump has done, which is why I want to bring some people that oppose our viewpoints into the show.
I'd be down for that. And when it comes to Obama and his deportations, he's actually deported more people than any other president combined. Well, actually, I don't know combined, but he's deported more presidents than anyone before him. So it's going to be really hard. It'd be hard for me to believe that Donald Trump would have deported more people than Obama over the course of just 1 year. Because you got to remember, Obama's been around for 8 years. So yeah,
that sounds about right.
So yeah, I don't think Trump has gone hardcore in regards to deporting everyone. But I would like to think that because it would just be or at least not impossible, but it would just be really hard for him to do it over the course of a year.
And there's been some critics, and I'm including critics that actually agree with Trump, that have said, we can't deport the people that a lot of conservative voters want us to deport because it would cost too much for the ICE operations.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also one thing that the media is getting a little bit wrong that I do think is good to point out is the media has been portraying that conservatives are racist against Mexicans and want them all out, and they think this is a racial issue. When in reality, one thing that they don't realize is, number one, some of us are against the way that some of the ways that are proposed to deal with immigration. And number two, none of us have problems with people coming over. We just want them to do it legally, because without a system that regulates immigration, we will get flooded with too many immigrants. And somebody actually pointed out, if people came at the rate that they've been coming so far and we don't do anything about it, natural Americans are going to be outnumbered.
Yep. Which is why I am actually happy, or at least I was happy during the campaign trail as to how strict he was going to be when it comes to immigration. Because here's the thing, it's an absolute slap to the face to people who come here legally that spent 10 long years to get in here legally, only for someone to come in here illegally and just take like about a year. It's like, what the hell? You're telling me the guy who did it the wrong way is getting a free pass, but because I did it legally, I have to do it for 10 years? No, to hell with that.
And I think we touched on this a little bit when we were. I don't remember if it was my 100 sub stream or if it was your last. I forget what you title your streams, but your last stream
Humanity
that
edits the
happened right
dumbest.
after my 100. Yeah. It was one of those two streams, but I think we did discuss immigration briefly, and we touched. I think we touched on base. Oh yeah, it was your stream because we had the lady with the weird smile avatar thing. But we were talking about how. Sorry about the beeping.
Oh, no problem.
But we discussed briefly how, as far as immigration goes, yes, we do need reform on the process for coming over here. Excuse me. But we also need a way to regulate it so that we can stop immigration when too many people come over here.
Yeah, exactly. And that is something I perfectly agree with Donald. I get a lot of flack and I get a lot of hate at my school because I'm a Mexican American, like I'm of Mexican descent, and here I am supporting Donald Trump. They see me as the walking oxymoron. It's like, how dare you? How dare you support him? You're a race traitor. It's like, no, I'm just. No, I'm just in support of common sense.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is a criticism I have towards people who say this, like, oh well, if you're a libertarian, then you have to be for open borders, because clearly that would not. If you were for closed borders, that's a violation of the inauguration principle. Okay, here's the thing. Why should someone else die because of some illegal immigrant coming through? Why should some innocent person be killed in cold blood because someone just passed through an open border? I mean, look at Kate Steinle. Are you going to tell me that? Tell me, are you seriously going to tell me that we should not regulate it? Like, again, this is one of the three things. These are one of the three things I think that the government is needed for: the border, the military, and the courts. Because one, the borders should be seen as a means to secure us from anyone else that wants to come in. Like, if you want to come into our country, then you need to understand we speak English. Which is honestly something that pisses me off. But like, it pisses me off that people come here in the United States not wanting to speak English and want us to assimilate to their culture. But that's a conversation for a different day. But back to the conversation. If you're going to come here in the United States and you want to live here, then I'm sorry, but I am not sorry. You need to go through the border legally. And if you come in here illegally, then you've already broken the law and you're violating the non-aggression principle. Because now, you are having someone else's tax dollars go towards you when you aren't supposed to be here in the first place. And you as an illegal immigrant aren't paying taxes. I get sick and fucking tired whenever I hear illegals come in here saying, oh, well, you should treat us better. No, we do not. You are very, very fucking lucky that we have laws put in place to give you rights. You're very lucky that if you were to be taken to a court of law, we would still give you rights. Like, if it were up to me, if anyone were to come here in the United States illegally, I would just send their ass back. No questions asked. And if they do it a second time, I would jail them. Because clearly they didn't learn the first time And if they're going to do it again, they're not going to learn it the third time.
And like here's the couple things that I've thought about as far as immigration is like biggest thing that Trump ran on was the wall.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Now, my wife, like I was trying to keep muted, but I probably caught a couple bits of her speaking. But now she personally thinks the wall is a ridiculous idea and doesn't think we need it. Which, to an extent, I agree with the exception of the Texas and New Mexico borders, which are bare.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And like, this has always been my question. Now, I grew up in an area that has a lot of Mexicans and mixed Mexican people. Mixed Mexican people. One second.
Nothing but good things are coming my way. If you walk away, please let me stay. You bring me down when I'm getting high. You turn me on. I amplify 1, 2. You're broken me.
But anyway, what we were saying was, my biggest question is now. I like the idea of the wall, and people act like Trump is racist for wanting the wall when it was in fact proposed during, I think, the Reagan administration.
I think it was. I thought it was proposed during the Bill Clinton administration.
I know Bill Clinton.
He argued for a fence. Right?
Something like that, and yeah, and I remember at the very least, he wanted to do something about immigration, because people were asking why is Donald Trump racist for wanting control on immigration, when we have a speech right here of Bill Clinton saying literally the same thing that Donald Trump is saying now. And my thing has been, and I've argued with this with people on Facebook that are opposed to the idea of the wall, because they don't like the idea of our tax dollars paying for something that, in their eyes, they don't think we need. And my question has always been, and I give everybody benefit of the doubt on the wall because I understand why you don't think it's needed. My question usually is, how do you think we should secure the border? Because that border is our most vulnerable place. And I mentioned how I've personally been very close to the border driving trucks.
Yeah,
and how from Laredo, Texas to at least New Mexico, maybe even a good portion of Arizona, we don't have anything to protect us from people coming in from the south.
Yeah,
or
I know
from
this
people
is
illegally crossing the border, or God forbid, an invasion.
I know this is gonna sound morbid, and this is gonna be the cheapest way of doing it. Like the cheapest way and the least humane way of securing our borders is to put mines. Like it sounds horrifying if you're gonna do it that way, but that's the truth. Now, the way I see the wall, it would be. I just think it would be outrageous if we were to put a big, huge wall between all of us, between the border of all over Mexico, between USA and Mexico. I think that would be ridiculous, but I would agree in where you said that we need in Texas, because that is just completely bare. We have just hell. And admittedly, I like to make jokes about the wall because it's just the wall. Wall.
Yeah, I know, right? And speaking of jokes, you mentioned the minefield. I'm just sitting there imagining Border Patrol sitting at the Interstate 35 Border Patrol house. All of a sudden, over in the distance,
It's like,
shit, gotta go reset it.
It's like, okay, like this is what it's sad that I picture this. Ay, mijito, go for it. Don't worry, we're here for you. Mama, Papa. I mean, bomb, bang.
Yeah, no, like that is morbid to think about. On a serious note, whereas I understand that would be the cheapest version, that is something I definitely would not support.
Exactly.
Like, that's why I support the wall, at least on the Texas border, where it's the most vulnerable, and extra border patrol where we can place them. And basically, the way I saw it was, like, it'd be expensive as fuck to have border patrol trail and try to protect a portion of the Texas border that has literally nothing on it. There's no, like, when I drove that direction, I drove U.S. Highway 90 from, I can't remember the name of the town, but I drove it for quite a distance, and I literally had 2 hours of driving, 120 miles, where there was no towns.
Yep.
There were a couple abandoned chicken sheds in the middle of the desert, but that was it. And main reason I argue for the wall, at least there, is because even if it's something small, as long as they can't get over it, or if we can at least put a person, like for example, the Great Wall of China, it has several places where there's guard towers where like in the days where it was manned, people could go into these towers while they were on duty. I'm going to be for putting up something small along certain parts where we could put men in there to just kind of keep an eye on it and give them a little bit of shelter because the conditions are pretty harsh out there because of the desert. And then maybe building a few buildings along the border where there's more towns, where the border patrol can chill, and then drive along sections of the border to just patrol it in areas where there's more population and there's less distance between where they would have to stop for food, water, and stuff like that.
Yep. And again, when it comes to discussing things like the wall and like what I propose, mines, you have to find the sweet balance of cost and humanity. Because again, going with like if we're talking about the land, like if we're talking about people trying to cross the border by land, then yes, bombs would be the cheapest, but it's going to be the most inhumane. You know? I would like to think this, that if I'm going to be protecting myself, or if I'm going to be protecting my country, I would at least like to do it in some humane fashion. That is why in war, it's now a war crime for you to use flamethrowers against people in war, because it is just too inhumane. I would apply that same logic to securing my borders. Like, if that makes sense. It's like, dude, what's humane about war? What's humane about that? It's like,
yeah, it makes perfect sense, because I mean, like, one of the countries I hate the absolute most, and it's not because of the country itself, it's because of the bad dictator motherfucker that runs it, is North Korea. And it's because they have an electric fence that if you touch that son bitch, you're gonna die. And that's 100% inhumane, because whereas I understand why they would want a fence to keep people out, it's also there's no surviving that fence if you get touched by it, and it's also there to keep people in. And it's 100% inhumane, which is why I believe in setting something up so that we can catch the people in the act, because that gives them a second chance. They're not going to die trying to get into the country. They're just probably at worst going to get sent back.
Yep. And again, when it comes to stuff like that, if you're going to come here across the border illegally, have your ass sent back. Plain and simple. And I will offer you. I would offer you legal citizenship, or at least a path towards legal citizenship. But you do it a second time. You didn't learn it the first time. Sorry, but not sorry. You're going to jail in our country since you want to stay in it so badly.
Yeah, agreed. But let's touch on something about immigration that Donald Trump has done, because this is more so about him and his effects. Now, do you remember the whole story with his talks about DACA and what he did with it? Because my information, correct me if I missed anything, but he basically wanted to repeal it, and there was a controversy around that, and then people ended up saying, and then he ended up saying, okay, here's the deal. If you want to keep it, you guys fix it, I'll give you this much time to fix it. Which I'll agree he should be doing on a lot of things that Democrats are fighting him over that they want to keep, that they should know by now is pissing off a majority of the country, hence why they have Donald Trump in the White House in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, what do you think about his decision to say that to those that wanted to keep it?
I mean, I know I'm going to sound like a dick when I say this, but I think that people who are DACA recipients, they're at best entitled pieces of shit, or at worst, arrogant people, arrogant, evil people. I say that because one, you hold on. Hey, dude, just dropped by to give you a like and say hello. I don't think. Okay, never mind. Oh, I'll get back to you, CT. Don't worry.
Who was that?
I was just reading a comment. Squirrel moment. I don't think that the wall is necessary. However, it's a good idea. I think we just need to secure the border better than what we have for the past few decades. Decades, I mean century. Yeah, okay, cool, dude. I agree. But when it comes to DACA recipients, again, I would treat them the same way as any other illegal immigrant. I'd say, okay, look, or at least when it comes to DACA recipients, this is what I would do. And I begrudgingly agree with what Trump's doing. I begrudgingly agree, and I'll get into that in a moment, that he's going to make this the quote-unquote bill of love. Really, he's just saying that to be authentic, really. And that he's going to give them at least some time for them to become legal citizens. Which, okay, fine. They weren't here by their own choice or by their own volition. It was because of their parents. But I'm a firm believer in the sins of the father. That and by that I mean, like, if the father is going to commit sin, if the father is going to commit evil towards another, then you bet your ass your child's going to pay the prices. Like, I know, again, it sounds horrid, but that's the truth. Look at Japan. The Japanese generals, they started a war with us. They bombed Pearl Harbor. And look what we did to them. We nuked their asses. Now, as to discuss as to whether that was the right thing or not, that's a totally different conversation for a different day. But the point still remains. The sins of the father will befall onto the children. And I think the exact same logic should be applied when it comes to DACA. Yeah, CT55. Dreamer's my ass. We all dream. Oh, yeah, definitely, dude. Definitely.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted for a second because you could probably hear that music playing.
Mm-hmm. But do you have any points? Do you have any ideas that you disagree with in my statement there?
Yeah, give me one. Sorry, I had to get away from that music so I could hear myself talk.
All right.
Just a couple points, because this is personally how I think it should be handled. Like, I think Trump's doing a somewhat right thing in giving them a chance to become citizens, because this is my opinion on dreamers and pretty much any illegal immigrant that's come here. Now, if you want to become a citizen, more power to you. I know that there's a circumstance that, I know for the most part, there's something that happened in your mother country that made you need to come over here. Like, I know there are some people there. I know a few people from my personal hometown that came here because they were fleeing abuse from
their home country.
Several different things. Yeah, they're fleeing some type of abuse. Now, what I would say, to give a chance for some of these people, and to give a chance for some of these people that came over here, or that ended up over here because their parents came. That's why I agree that they should have a chance to become citizens, because they didn't come here by their own choice. However, this is what makes me judge you as an immigrant, and also, I hope I did not end the stream. Is my stream still running?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good, because I just realized I'm using my hotspot to stream online. I used my mobile hotspot to turn on the computer and start the stream. I'm using my phone to talk to you right now, which is why there's two of me.
Ah.
And I just walked into the truck stop to take a piss. Anyway, back to my point. I agree with giving them a grace period to try and become citizens, because this is my opinion on whether or not I respect you, regardless of your legal status. If you are willing to take the chance of that grace period to become a citizen, and you have been trying since you got here to become a citizen, I respect you, and I think you should have a chance to become one, because that means you came here genuinely fleeing something that required you to get out of there quickly, and that you actually want to become a part of this country. However, if you're one of those people that thinks I should be allowed to stay here just because I'm already here and I contribute nothing to society and don't believe in the American way or anything like that, that's when I say, screw you, you should go back. And the way to judge that is to give a decent enough grace period where if you have not followed through with filing for immigration, by the time that grace period ends, you had no intentions of becoming a citizen. You just came over here for free shit. And then you should go back.
Yes, this is what I would say. You have exactly 1 year. 1 year, and that's it. If you didn't do anything, too bad, so sad, I'm going to send you back. No ifs, no ands, or buts about it. It's like, oh no, but what about, but I got an injury. I don't care. I don't want to hear it. You could have gone when you didn't have an injury. You could have gone when you didn't have any health problems, or when you didn't have any money problems. And now you're meaning to tell me you want to do something about it? No, go fuck yourself. Your ass is being sent back home.
I could agree with that.
Are there any other I think we've hit all the points in regards to the immigration, right?
The last thing I'll say, and this is for if any person, I don't care where you came from, I'm going to say one thing for anybody that came here illegally and is watching this stream. I don't hate you or anything. But my advice for you to make it the best in this country is do your best to become a citizen, and don't hate the people in this country that want regulation on citizenship. Work with us so that we can make you a citizen, and we will have a much higher respect for you, and we will welcome you to this country with open arms.
I agree with that. Amen.
Anyway, so let me double check. What else was it that I wanted? Did immigration? We did healthcare. Anyway, okay, so you said you had some information on tax reform, right?
I don't recall making it such a claim, but I think what you were mistaking me earlier was in regards to him making deregulations, and that
okay, whichever one it was. If I ever mistake anything that you said, feel free to correct me. I do that by accident sometimes.
Oh, no harm, no foul, dude. Don't worry. Sir, are you? Hold on. CT55, sir, are you Gabe the Pony?
If you're
no. Is he referring to the samurai Gabe, or?
I think so.
Allow me to answer your question, CT. I am not a pony. I'm a Wendigo in a suit.